You're a nice boy. You're neat, you're
I heard.
prompt, you're considerate, you never goof off, and you always look busy. But you don't have the talent for this job. I'm sorry, but I have customers who need their bikes and I just can't keep them waiting. You're just not mechanically inclined.
I hear it.
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you heard it. Well,
That old dude.
I got to do it
He
one more.
sounds pretty cool.
Hold on.
Is that like fucking? Is that like the Spanish Godfather or something?
One more time. Hold on.
You're a nice boy. You're neat, you're prompt, you're considerate, you never goof off, and you always look busy. But you don't have the talent for this job. I'm sorry, but I have customers who need their bikes and I just can't keep them waiting. You're just not mechanically inclined.
You hear that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. That is that's Peter Brady getting fired from the bicycle shop on the Brady
my
Bunch.
God.
Yeah.
Dude, what a flashback.
Yeah. Oh, that's a famous one for me. That's like that's like something that I think about all the time. Peter Brady getting fired in the bike shop. When I look at some of the employees in the shop, I'm like, man, you guys never saw it. Had you grown up with the Brady Bunch, you would know that, things have to get done quickly in a bike shop. Do a good job on the bike, but you also have to do it fast. Otherwise, Mr. Martinelli will fire you. How are you,
So
Danny?
which of the good man? Which of the Brady boys was it?
That was Peter.
Peter. Okay, and he was the middle kid.
He was the middle one. Yeah.
Is Greg, Peter, Bobby? Okay.
Yeah, he was the middle one.
I now that you say it, I remember it, but at the time I didn't. I was like, "What is that from?"
Yeah,
I thought it was from like a movie or something. But
there's a couple. I always enjoy whenever like television shows visit a bicycle shop. There's like bicycle shop is involved in television. That's a fairly positive depiction of a bike shop. And although Mr. Martinelli fires one of the Brady boys, that's I mean,
that's big. He's got high standards, man. You gotta shape up or ship out.
Yeah, that could have been. That's a little bit of a bummer, but
call reality, Mr. Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Your rich architect dad isn't gonna help you around here.
Nope. Hey, Danny, check your gain again. Can you pump that up just a little bit? Let's see. Give me just a little bit more. Talk.
It's the left muscle. One.
A little bit more. A little bit more.
Yeah.
Higher. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good. It's all the way up.
All the way.
Is that better?
I think it's a little bit better. I just don't. I don't want to miss anything that you're doing. Your brilliant work.
It could be a good thing.
Yeah. Let's see here. I am still reading a little bit low here. Let me switch here. I'm going to try something else. All right. Give me another check.
Testing 1, 2.
There you go. Much better. Much better. Well, now that we're done with all the Peter Brady stuff, I'll disconnect you and we can get back to that at another date. So how you doing, Danny?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just having
it's good to be good.
Yeah, just having some technical difficulties here.
It's what we do. It's the podcast, man.
Yeah, it's it's
how the sausage is made.
Again, as we
the sausage
pushing the limits. You're always trying some different things and experimenting with some audio. So things are good there in Boulder, huh?
I see hanging out in Boulder, man.
You're working out. I saw you at a gym. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the reason for that, Joe, is it's we had a good. I haven't been able to ride much because we've had quite a bit of snow and colder temperatures. So it's interesting. The snow melts on the bike path. Like they plow the path and there's enough sun to like melt whatever is left.
Mm-hmm.
But on kind of like the main roads to, get around and like the side streets especially, they're still really bad. So it hasn't snowed in a number of days, but there's still a ton of snow. They don't really plow here as much as I think they should. It's kind of like a funny thing. Even like local folks are kind of like, yeah, they don't plow a lot in the neighborhood. So like the side streets, I actually rode home. I rode into town and back tonight. Very short ride, but yeah, I was riding kind of like on ice and snow a little bit. So I had to be careful so I didn't like break my face. So yeah, so like I haven't been able to ride much. So anyway, I found this local gym. It's actually really close and it's a really cool gym and it's pretty cheap. And yeah, I've been going there like every other day and just doing like an hour just to kind of get back in the swing of things. Cause I haven't been a gym rat. Not that I ever was really, but I haven't been in the gym in a while. So it's really cool. So it's a nice substitute. And I've been going through this thing where it's like, I want to find alternatives if I can't ride, but you know, other than skiing, which isn't really in the cards right now, we'll probably go skiing 1 or 2 days while we're here just for fun. Like we'll have to rent everything because we don't have any gear. But beyond that, you know, it's kind of like go out for long walks, which I love to do. So I have been doing some of that. But if you want to go like snowshoe, you know, something like that, like you got to buy the equipment or rent this stuff and you know, whatever. So first world problem. But yeah, so I haven't been able to ride as much. I've been waiting. Everyone's been kind of waiting. I've been hanging out in a couple bike shops and talking to some folks, and everyone's just kind of like waiting for like the warm weather to kind of come back. And that's actually happening as we speak. So, and the snow is melting, but it takes a lot longer than I thought for it to melt. And some of the local folks I hang out with here a little bit have been saying, yeah, it's a little bit more. And one other thing, Joe, they don't do here is they don't use salt.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
They're not into salt. In Chicago, they use it like it's running water, like it's going out of style.
Oh yeah.
You know, they salt everything. And that's not always great for the environment and all the fishes. But here they don't really use it at all. And it's like an environmental thing and it's this and that. And I can appreciate it, but it's also like, you know, I kind of want a little bit of salt.
Do they use sand there?
So I think there's like some, I haven't seen sand per se. They may use it and I haven't seen it. I've had kind of a limited view, but I heard too that they do use some gravel.
Okay.
So I guess that would be the next best thing. But by and large, it's kind of funny. Like they do some plowing for sure, but like there are a lot of places I walk to and like I'll be driving to or riding my bike to, and you know, it's kind of conspicuous. Like I'm like, wow, I can't believe that's not like plowed or that isn't like salted or something. And like I said, normally like the sun comes out strong enough. I think it's just been this week we've had where it hasn't been that strong, but normally like that stuff would melt and you'd be able to ride like 2 days after a snow. But I think because we had a particularly heavy dump and it was quite cold. Yeah. It just, you know, one of those weeks. But anyway, it's getting better and I might do a group ride, a gravel. Check this out. It's my first gravel ride. And it's going to be a group ride, and it's led by this local shop that I've kind of befriended.
What's that shop? What's the name of the shop?
It's called Full Cycle.
Full Cycle. Okay.
Full Cycle, and it's in Boulder. It's a good size shop. It's not tiny. It's not overly big. It's just a good size shop. Full service. They have 2 like kind of fitting studios that look pretty high tech, and it actually has quite a lot of nice gear and bikes, but it's not like a mega store either. So it still has kind of like a shop vibe, and everyone there is like super friendly. Everyone in Boulder is pretty super friendly actually. But then what's cool about it, it has half of the shop or a third of the shop is a coffee shop / bar and kind of like hangout place. They have some screens up, so there's some like sports on, but it's not like, like it's very chill. You still feel like you're in the bike shop. But yeah, it's cool. And like they're one of those shops that, you know, they like to do rides. I think I'm going to do this thing where they have an hour where it's like intro to gravel at the shop.
Really?
And there's like a gravel dude or gravel person who's going to like kind of like give you the basics and be like, and you know, whatever it is, I think it's just gonna be like an hour of like talking about gravel, like the basics, everything from like how to ride gravel, what equipment you might want to think about using, like tubeless, I assume, like a bike,
like a bike.
And by the way, we have a bunch of bikes for sale. And then they push off and then they have the ride. And then, like I said, there are a few different versions of that. It's kind of nice. They cater to like slow, medium, fast. Wow. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. I haven't done like a group ride. I haven't really ridden with another soul since probably AJ, actually.
Oh, wow.
Back in Chicago. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm almost adjusted to the altitude. Technically speaking, I still think I would need a number of days or weeks, but you know, if you look at the Garmin, it's like you're at 5,300 feet. So, you know, I'm technically almost there, whatever that means. But anyway, yeah, so I'm just looking forward to the social aspect. And actually, I'm kind of like really interested in just going on this ride to see where they ride. Because, you know, you can look on Strava and you can find stuff, but until you actually go on it, especially when it's like group led, because then it's like they know when they can hammer a little bit, when to kind of chill through like certain parts. And
yeah. Well,
you know, especially because it's gravel too, and then we've had some snow, so it could be kind of interesting. So wish me luck.
You know, I got to say that like the group thing is actually, you know, I hadn't experienced it in a long time, but even I participated in a group ride this week, Danny.
Did you?
Yes, a Zwift.
Oh my God,
a Zwift group ride.
Okay, cool. Hey, that still counts.
But you know, it's funny that you mentioned group rides because I jumped into this thing, and you know, it makes you go harder, even in the even in the virtual world. You know, I end up going, you know, much harder than I probably planned that day because I jump into this, you know. This thing, and they do it kind of by watts. You know, they do it like, you know, how many watts per kilo you want to do. And so I stepped up a little bit, and it was good. You know, it was very efficient. It was a good 45 minutes, but at a much harder pace than I expected to, than I was planning on going. You know, and yeah, I found it to be, you know, like efficient. And to like, you know, it was a nice way to knock out a 45-minute workout and break a good sweat. And the just that, I did get into that group mentality. Danny, I found myself riding to the front of the pack, right? For top first.
Did you post that on Insta? Was that what I saw?
I think so. Yeah, it was like, I like just, you know, out of instinct, I ride up to the top 20. You know, like I want to be up in that first little bunch because, you know, there's hundreds of people on these rides. You know, you see like a number, and just out of like, you know, it's just something kicked in where it's just deep in me where I got to get up there to
your alpha instinct. In.
I just got to get up there and like be able to see. You know, I want some room, a little bit of room for myself. I don't want to get boxed in. And then at some point I caught myself. I'm like, what am I doing here? You know? And I left
Joe, can you believe 20, 30 years ago if I said, you know, Joe, in the future, you're going to be posting on this thing called social media, Instagram, you charging up to the front of a Peloton, but a virtual Peloton on your TV screen as you pedal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was amusing. It was like mentally amusing to me that what I was doing. You know, it didn't really hit me until the shower after the ride that I was like, "What did I?
What did I just do?
What did I just do? What kind of weird mental games was I playing with myself for 45 minutes? You know."
I saw it on Insta and I was like, I think I know what's going on here.
So it was you know, but it's I'd taken some time off of Swift, and now, you know, over the last few weeks I've been getting on there a little more regularly, and I did miss the efficiency of the indoor workout. You know, it is actually, for me, I really benefit from it in that I can really focus on very specific things, just like
Mm-hmm.
left leg pedaling, right leg pedaling, and just I noticed
Both leg pedaling,
both
no leg
legs.
pedaling.
Yeah, it's just like, but like just positioning, like my position on the bike, and just weird,
Yep.
I really noticed my pedal stroke being a little bit choppy right now, at this time of the year. Just I don't have a lot of fluidity in my pedal stroke, and you can really pick up on it when you're just kind of sitting there on the trainer, and like
Smashing the pedals.
yeah, and again, just being able to stay in a zone for a certain amount of time, and just kind of knock out one of those workouts where it's like, okay, I really, I did it kind of by the book and accomplished something in 45 minutes, and I got the rest of my day to,
Good for you, man.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's undeniably super economical. You can go from plain clothes to something of a kit, do your workout, and be in the shower and out inside 60 minutes, if you want to.
Yeah, if you want, if you were
in that way, it's super. You can't do that with road.
Yeah. I mean, it's and I give myself a little bit more than that because I shoot for no less than 45 minutes, and in some cases up to an hour and 15, hour and a half, if I'm really
nice.
if I have a little extra time and I get up extra early, or I'm not doing something in particular, but yeah, it's cool.
Nice,
or if I find a good YouTube video to a couple of things to watch, it can really, on an easy day where you just want to spin your legs out for a little bit, you can find yourself on there for an hour and 15 if you really get into some good content. So
yeah, good for you, man.
Yeah,
good for you.
No, it's good, man. It's like you're covering the IRL world, and I've got the virtual world covered. That's check us out.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I don't know if I talked to you since I did this ride, maybe not. But did I tell you I rode my? Oh yeah, I think I told you I rode my bike down to Denver from Boulder. Did I tell you that or no?
No, I think that was after our last show. You did that ride down to Boulder. So
yeah,
to Denver.
And it's not like a super crazy ride or anything. It's I think it shook out to be like 35 miles or something, and you could do it a little bit shorter.
I know you had some sort of big ass lunch after that.
I did a giant sandwich.
Some Instagram.
It's like ridiculous sandwich. Yeah. Well, I just ordered it, and they were like, "This is our popular sandwich." I'm like, "Oh, I'll take that." And they served this thing. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. To be fair, it was probably like 50% lettuce, but it was actually really good. But I saw like that there was more or less there's a bike path from Boulder, like literally half a block from my door. Just like hop on that. It's this beautiful, wide, like really nice path, and it takes you kind of along the highway a bit, but then it goes into like this, kind of more not rural, but it's just kind of like more like there's a little bit of a trail, and you're kind of like near this like creek, I guess, and then there's just like some like hedgerows and kind of things like that. It kind of takes you down and meanders. It wends here and there, and anyway, it kind of takes you all the way down. The only hiccup we had was there was some construction about halfway as I got closer to Denver. Denver is like southeast of Boulder. So as I got down, I had to divert. It was like a 3-mile detour. It was kind of weird, but anyway, most of the ride was like actually pretty cool, and it's kind of interesting. Once you get it toward Denver, it gets like very kind of industrial, and I was like in these like there's like these refineries, and I think there was like a sewage plant. Like
really?
It got kind of gnarly, especially in the nostrils. It reminded me of Summit, actually. And so but it's funny. The path was still very beautiful, but like the surroundings, like it's like factories and just like all this kind of stuff. So and then at night, it kind of reminded me of what is the futuristic movie, Blade Runner. Kind of reminded me of that, like some of the scenes from that. So it was getting a little bit like sunsetty, and the lights were coming on from like the factories. So it had this kind of cool vibe. I actually like that kind of scene almost. So it's not like the most beautiful ride. The first half's nicer, but it's kind of cool because basically the bike path takes you all the way to Denver. So you can imagine, like, it's not the same, of course, but if you had a bike path taking you to Milwaukee, it'd be like a lot longer, but it'd be kind of ideal to have something like that. So that was just something I wanted to do. And like I said, I was still acclimating, so I didn't want to do any big mountains, and it's pretty flat for the most part. I was tempted to do a 70-mile round trip, but it's early days, so I'm like, I'll save that toward the end of my stay here and do like the Boulder to Denver and back, which is a pretty nice ride. Industrial City, they refer to it as. Let's see.
And that's that area right outside of Denver?
Yeah, it's basically on the outskirts of Denver. So it's I'm sorry, Commerce City. So if you check out some Google images of that, it's got some interesting sections. It's easy when you're out cruising around in the Chicago area. Like, even if you're not pedaling hard, you probably pass a lot of people. But here, it's not really the case.
Oh, I'm concerned about you going on this group ride. I mean, it's going to be fun. Like,
it's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. I played dumb on that one. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I just got into this thing. I wouldn't. This bike. I want to be a biker. Just say stuff like that.
It's funny because back in the day, I would have been chomping at the bit, right? If I was like in race shape, I'd be like, "Let me on that fast ride." But I did notice they have 3 rides. So there's they call the C ride casual, and then there's the B ride tempo, and the A ride is a threshold.
Wow.
So
tempo.
So I'm taking the C ride.
Yeah, that's the one.
Tomorrow.
That would be the one I did.
And my ready excuse is, well, I'm still acclimating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reality is, like, I'm sure that it's going to be a fun social ride. But like the fitness level of like your average like cyclist around here is going to be like really high.
By default,
so I'm taking it with like due respect.
That's one of those places where just riding a bike on a regular basis, you're in good shape. It's like just the fact you ride a bike at that altitude, up and down hills there, because there's probably grade everywhere. I mean, nothing's probably nothing's Chicago where it's all just dead flat.
Yeah, right.
That if you ride every day a half an hour or 45 minutes, that you're just in good shape. I mean, that's just the deal. You're just not. No one's going to be out of shape and riding a bike regularly there. It just kind of gets you in shape.
Exactly. So no, I'll give you a full report, but I'm looking forward to a social ride and see how it goes.
Take some gels with caffeine. Take
I might need something stronger. Joe.
Take some fuel with you, man. Take something.
I might have to take something illegal with me.
Yeah, mark the path. Make sure you know how to get home.
Oh, you mean like Brady Bunch where they go to Hawaii with the popcorn?
Yeah,
the breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
Vincent Price, man, shout out. But what I was thinking of doing is doing that ride, and then just maybe doing it twice, depending on how hard the ride is. I don't expect it to be actually very hard because it's casual, but you never know. So, but yeah, I'm pretty excited, and kind of just the social aspect too. Kind of get out and meet some folks, and everyone I've met at the shop has been really cool. So, yeah, it's been fun. Everyone in Boulder is like super friendly. It's a little bit, you have to get used to it a little bit because Chicago, not that people aren't friendly, but it's just such a big city. There's a little bit more of anonymity, and like people kind of keep to themselves a little bit more.
You have to be a little more guarded here. You just have to be on everyone's on guard. It's a big city. So
exactly. So, but no, it's good. But yeah, like there are a lot of like really friendly people, and everyone at the shop has been really cool. And
ask them for money, Danny, next time, just to start pushing it. Like, hey, you got $10 you can lend me?
I know I could really go for a burrito right now.
Hey, buy me a coffee.
Exactly. But no, people are really cool. So I'm pretty stoked to go out tomorrow, and I will report back.
I'd love to hear about the next time. you give us a report about the ride.
If I'm around, if I make it.
I've struck up some online friendships, or just conversations with people in Spain that are located in the area where my wife is right now. People writing groups and people that write out there regularly. There? Yeah, she's there right now. And
cool.
the a couple of years ago the plan was to head out there, and then COVID hit and all the rest. But we've been in contact ever since. And they invite me out. Oh, next time you're out here, you got to come and ride with us. And some of them have YouTube channels. So I've been watching. Like they'll put stuff up on their YouTube channel or their club YouTube. And Danny, I mean, these guys are, they're our age. Maybe, and some of them are a little bit older. But their weekend ride is like 140K, 150K, 2,000, 3,000 meters of climbing that day. I was like, oh yeah, good day.
Right.
We did 2,000 meters, 6,000 feet of climbing, and 140, 150K. And,
it's like legit.
I'm watching them ride, and I'm like, whoa, these guys are, these guys are, I don't know that I could do. I don't know that I could do that. It would be like, whoa.
I mean,
100.
Yeah, you definitely. Yeah, you got to train for it.
Yeah, you got to train for it. But I mean, like you said, Chicago. Even if I was riding a lot, even if, let's say, if it was September, or August, and you can ride a lot in Chicago, there's no mimicking that. It's so difficult to practice climbing in Chicago, like that kind of climbing,
Yeah. I mean, I always heard that kind of idea, like, oh, just ride into the wind. But, I don't know if I never really believed that.
Yeah.
I mean, there really kind of isn't a substitute. I mean, you could, your best bet is to, ride some intensity, mix up your training.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
try to get as light as possible, all the basics.
Yeah.
And, it's just, but there's only so much you're ever going to be able to do. You have to, obviously that's why the pros go those camps and like spend time at altitude and ride in the mountains and sleep in these freaking things. And, it's just what it is. So.
I got plenty of experience doing it, back in the day when I was, living here and then going to Spain to race in the, for the summers or whatever, spring or summer. And, the best thing is just to show up in as good a shape as you can be in. And then, 2 or 3 weeks there, and you kind of ride yourself into condition. There's just no way around it.
Right.
But yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, have fun with it, Danny. Have fun with it. Nothing gets you into shape like climbing, though. Like it's one of those things where it's like it really. If you do it right, man, you do start seeing some benefits from it right away. It hurts, but there's something about it that gets you into shape fairly quickly.
Yeah, and and like we've talked about, like we've done this a long time. Like you can't rush it. Acclimating, and it just takes time. And there are certain things you could do to kind of help it along, but it just takes some time, and you got to go out and do some rides. So Sarah and I have done some hikes and some cool stuff like that. So all that helps, but ultimately it just
do a shirtless.
What's
Danny.
that?
Shirtless with a backpack.
Oh, shirtless. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you want me to do that right now, Joe. I'm not sure if you really want that.
Be like one of those true mountain men guys.
Can you give me like 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, I get you in shape. You want to run away from anybody.
Who's that comedian who's always shirtless? What's his name? You know who I'm talking about? He's kind of famous.
There's
like a friend of
shirtless comedian?
Really? And he's overweight. He always takes his shirt off.
No, I don't know who that is.
Or Bert Kreischer. Kreischer. If you just Google him, he's been on Rogan and stuff like that. He's pretty funny, but that's what.
That's what you think of. That's the first person
you can't unsee it. But that's what I was imagining when you said that.
Hello, I'm Stijn de Wandel from Belgium, and you are listening to the Bike Shop Society podcast.
Joe, you want a quick news roundup?
I was hoping you would say that. Give me a second. Oh, there we go. All right, it's cranking away on my side. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but
I can't.
Okay. Well,
but that's okay.
Pretend you can hear it.
Because I heard it when I listened to it, the actual podcast, I listened to it. So, Joe, in news, like I said last time, we're in this kind of off season for cycling, for road especially. Cyclocross is definitely like thriving, and there's lots of great racing coming from the likes of Van der Poel and Tom Pidcock and Wout van Aert and all these guys. I haven't actually watched a lot of it. I don't know why. I just haven't been as into it this holiday season. I'll definitely watch the World Championships, but otherwise we're kind of
Tom Pidcock video of him flying through the air. There was see him.
Yes,
you see him
yes.
Like, I don't know. He caught some air off his bike. He could have killed himself. There's a post. There's for anyone who hasn't seen it, it was going around a lot earlier in the week. I guess it was at like a Monday race or something, and he hit some sort of a divot or something. It launched him over the handlebars. He went flying up into the air, over the barrier, over like the crowd barrier, and just missed the pole like a stake in the ground.
Yep.
Which could have been pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm just watching it again. It was on Twitter. He was okay. He got right back into it. But you're right. He was kind of just doing this move. He was going over these these little ride ups, and he kind of lost control coming down on the one, and then going into the next one, he just lost control of the bike, and the rear tire kind of slid hardcore around to his left, and he went into the barriers. And he came very close to hitting this wooden stake.
Yeah, man, that could have been really bad.
Yeah, and he's effectively the world's best bike handler for my money, or definitely among the best. So even the pros can meet crazy kind of situations. So we've had the cyclocross scene going on, and then it's kind of the off season for road. Obviously, we had the January thing where all the teams, new teams are formed and the transfers are kind of done. One of the cool news items I saw, Joe, now I feel like the news is picking up a little bit now with the new year, is that Cav looks to be going to Astana. And so he looks to be on a team that's going to take him to the Tour de France and possibly his record-breaking stage win at the Tour ahead of Eddie Merckx. So for me, that was some of the biggest news I saw.
It's going to be weird to see him in that blue, that Astana blue, right? I mean, it's
going to be really weird.
You're used to seeing those pasty Eastern European guys that they, they're really, really like almost transparent skin, like really, very, very Eastern European, and they'll have like
Vinokurov,
then one Colombian guy, there's always a guy, there's always like one guy
who's super like darkly complected, bronze.
I always feel bad for that guy because I'm like, who does he talk to? Like, what?
Right.
He's probably got headphones on in the bus, just hanging out with all these guys eating cabbage, and there he is, poor guy, just like poor.
It's a lot of bread dumplings and cabbage.
Yeah, poor guy, just like
lots of flatulence on that bus.
Wishing you had an arepa. Some sort of a empanadilla or something, just
somebody send me like a bottle of hot sauce and Cholula or something.
Oh yeah, I always feel, like I'm like, oh man, look at that one guy with no one to talk to.
Yeah. Well, like wasn't Superman Lopez on Astana?
Yeah, he was one of those guys.
Didn't he have? Is that the team he had the big breakdown with, where he just left the Vuelta like a couple of days ago? He was like top 5 or top 3. Remember that like a year or two ago?
That was with Movistar. That was when he was with Movistar.
Oh, Movistar, you're right. Sorry, yeah. I'm confusing my dramatic teams because they're both pretty damn dramatic.
Yeah, I believe he just signed with a Colombian team. Superman Lopez. Nice. I think he'll be racing next year with some Colombian squad. So back to.
So I agree. It's going to be kind of jarring to see Cav in that turquoise, whatever it is, of the Astana team. Astana's kind of had like everybody. It's actually had some of my favorite riders, but they obviously have a lot of baggage, and they have an interesting history with Vinokurov, and even more in more modern times too. But they had Fuglsang, who's one of my favorite riders actually, and then they had Nibali, of course.
It feels like that like that high school in your town that like all the kids go, like the last chance high school. It's like, oh,
your parents are like, you got one more shot. You're in your 5th year, damn it.
I went to one of those, so I know what they're like. It's just like
I taught in one of those.
Oh, did you really?
Like, in Queens, New York. Yes, I did.
Yeah, there's like dudes walking around. They got kids and families and stuff. Like you're just like, whoa, man, you're old.
You're like, oh, is this your sister? It's like my daughter.
Deep into their 20s, still in high school.
Everyone's like that bad boy from like Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, they're all like that. Everybody's in there. You're just like, oh man, this place.
There are no Molly Ringwald there.
No.
So no, that is funny, but yeah, it's gonna. And then for them to have a sprinter is just weird too. Like they have all GC guys and like climbers usually. So it's going to be interesting. I hope it works, because I'm just sick of hearing like what team he's going to next. I feel like we've been through this like, this like cycle of like, he might go here, he might go there. So I just like to see him on a team. I'd love to see him go back, and to see him win an Astana kit and break the record. It's just going to be really weird. But it is what it is. So that's cycling.
And Vino's still running that team, right? Or he's still deeply involved with the team?
I believe he still is. I haven't paid attention a whole lot lately, but I believe he still is the main guy. If he's not actively still running it, he's definitely, I think, controlling it for the most part.
He had a really cool jersey at one time with his picture on it. It was like a Vino jersey. I remember I had a photo hanging in the bike shop for a while. It was Vino with a Vino jersey on, and it was
God,
that's one of my favorite Euro things.
That's crazy. Talk about liking yourself.
Well, I spotted there was Peter Sagan posted a photo of himself like on New Year's Day with no shirt on. And saw that. And he's got a giant tattoo of himself, of a young Peter Sagan.
I know. It's so weird.
And it's young Peter with the long hair.
And did you see the wording next to it? It said, "Why so serious?"
Yeah.
That's what it says. He goes, "Why so serious?" And it's like a picture of him. I'm like, we got to talk, dude. I don't think that's a great look.
Oh man, it was so good. It was like, I'm like, oh man, look at that.
It's pretty Euro trash at its height, Joe.
It is. And the part of town that I live in is very Euro. Like my surrounding area is very like Lithuanian, a lot of Eastern Europeans in this area. So I have a lot of Euro contact. And so I see a lot of that stuff up close. I'll see Dodge vans with like, where they take the badging off of a Mercedes and put it on their Dodge. They just do little things. There's just a lot of little things. There's Euro car clubs around here. The Polish have there's like a little mini car from Poland, and they have these and they import them, and it's
not a Trabant, is it?
I forgot what the name of it. What the name of the vehicle is.
The Czechs have a Trabant. I think it's the same one that U2 used in their Europa tour. They hung it like above the stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you Google U2 Trabants. Was it Trabant? Yeah, it was. U2's the sort of U2's Trabant from Achtung Baby. I was thinking Europa. But that was an East German car. But Czechs had a lot of Trabants.
Okay.
Man, I drove one, Joe. It was the shittiest car I ever drove in my life, but it was so much fun. It just felt like it was constantly going to fall apart. And we rented one, true story, like 3 Peace Corps friends, and we all drove from Prague to Amsterdam. And most of that ride is through Germany on the Autobahn. And we got such dirty looks, and it went from dirty looks from Germans and they're like Mercs and Beamers and Audis to literally people like pointing at us, telling us to get off the road because our car was burning so much oil.
Really?
Wow. There was a white plume of smoke coming from our car. And Joe, we shared the driving, and when I was driving, I had the thing almost floored, and it was going 60 miles an hour. We didn't know this until we were like halfway into the ride, and we're like, we're not going to make it. And sure enough, Joe, true story, not making this up. On the way back, the car died.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
it died, like the engine seized.
Really?
And yeah, it was near Stuttgart. So we were still a ways from home. So we had to like take an overnight train back to Prague, and we had to call the Czech car rental and be like, hello, car dead, kaput.
Wow.
It's legit, but we literally had people pulling up next to us, honking their horns and like pointing at us like, get off.
Well, yeah.
And we're like, what? We're not getting off. Like we're driving home.
I mean, that's the place where people, that those V8s and V10s will like pull up right to the bumper of the car in the left lane and tap them out of the way. They're like,
yeah, exactly. Yes,
at 120 miles an hour,
like a freaking derby.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God. So there you go. But I'm curious what cars those polls in Chicago
Yeah,
are bringing in.
I'll get you the name of it. It's a mini car. It's like there is like a back seat to it, but it's like a little bit of a little clown car.
Like a funny car. Okay.
It's a funny car. It's a funny little car, and there's a big parking lot out in front of the bicycle shop, and sometimes 5 or 6 of them will gather and they'll parade. I guess they just form a little parade of them on Sunday mornings. And it's very funny.
That's fun.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. And other news, according to Bike Radar, Strava has hiked its monthly subscription price by more than 25%.
So with a membership, in Strava, what do you get? Like access to some of more of their data or saving stuff, or?
Yeah. Do you not have a sub? You have the free version, or do you not use Strava?
I am subscribed to it, and I have the free version, but I don't really use Strava. Like I just,
gotcha.
I'm not. Yeah. No. I mean, I don't. I have an account. I get actually my Zwift. My Zwift account is linked to the Strava, so I get kudos and stuff from people I don't know on Strava, right. But I'm not intimate with it. I don't know it. I don't know it very well.
Nice, you get kudos and you don't even use it. That's pretty impressive, Joe.
Can I buy like socks or like imaginary socks or a helmet? Different stuff with it.
I would have to dig deep into the sub benefits, but. I mean, I couldn't rattle off the official list, but I've been a paying sub member for years now.
This is for Strava, right?
For Strava, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get a ton of stuff. It's actually, they keep making it better and better. I think it's like a good company, and they've done a lot to address like any flaws with it, but also just keep adding cool stuff to it. So it's pretty good. I think they can definitely even make it better, but you get all kinds of stuff. It's actually tricky for me to answer because I only had the free version for like a year or two. So I actually don't even remember what the free version had in terms of the paid version, but it's definitely like tons of flexibility. Like you can design your own routes.
Okay.
And so it has like a WYSIWYG function where you can just like put your finger on the screen and then like drag it. So I can like say Fort Collins and Boulder, I can like just drag a line from Fort Collins to Boulder, and then it'll just like automatically create like a bike map.
Okay.
Based on local like heat maps and where most people ride. It'll give you a couple options and all that kind of stuff. So it has some cool stuff like that. You can like obviously record everything. You can sync it to your Garmin. That's like old news, but the interface is like really smooth. I like the design of the app. It's very well designed. It's very clean, very powerful. Like you can search, like I said, I dropped into Boulder day one and I was like, oh, like where's the cool like local climbs? And I kind of knew like Flagstaff already, but there it is, boom, Flagstaff. And it gave me like the direct route there. And, I think we're at an interesting time too, because now even like you have Google Maps, the bike option for that is pretty good. It's not the same thing, but Sometimes I use both, but it'll kind of show you all the, obviously the KOMs, the QOMs, and all that kind of thing. But it'll show you like every detail. You can, dive into all the data. It records everything, and then it has the leaderboards, and you can compete with everybody if you want. You can record all the data you can imagine and more. So tons of flexibility. So yeah, I think the mapping and the routes is like a big thing with the paid. You can save all your routes for offline as well, and just plug it into your Garmin or whatever computer head unit you use. So very, very flexible, pretty cool. You can share a lot of stuff. And now they're adding like a lot of social media type stuff to it. Some of it I think is okay. Some of it I don't love. Like you can now add, like, obviously you've been able to add photos for a long time, but now I think you can add videos to your feed. Like, I don't know. I don't want every social media app to become like Facebook. So I'm a little bit like on the fence with some of the advances, but overall it's pretty good. And they keep adding like different sports that you can use on Strava.
Okay.
Obviously it kind of started with like a cycling and running vibe, but now it's like you can kind of do anything on it. And
Gotcha.
There's like a way to record it. So
interesting.
I just don't remember what the free one like limited you, how you were limited versus the paid one. But I like the paid one, and it's a company like, I want to stay around. I think it's like it's a cool app. There's nothing quite exactly like it. I know there are some rivals, but I feel like Strava's like really done like a cool job, and I feel like they're inherently invested in like the community. I know some people who work for them as well.
I think they're pretty entrenched. I mean, I just from the conversations I overhear at the shop and people talking about Strava and stuff, and I don't think that they're going anywhere. It was one of those apps that came along when a lot of stuff was coming along. There were a lot of little startups that were doing that, and then each computer company, each GPS company had their own or was trying to do their own thing as well, separate from like a third party app. They were trying to do their own kind of, keep it all in house. And so it was a little overwhelming. And sometimes the best thing to do is just wait it out and see who's left standing, then get vested in one. Because, it's one of those things where, you sign up for something, you start uploading, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Kind of like Vine. Remember Vine?
Oh yeah.
Where you're.
Well, did you hear that Elon Musk was joking about, or I don't know if he was joking, but he wanted to bring it back?
Oh, really?
Like recently.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean that it was one of those things that was really hot for a little while, and it was kind of interesting, when it did appear, but then it disappears. It's like and you're just like, oh, why are you investing so much time trying to learn how to use something, building a little community, or doing this thing around it, and then they disappear. So no, it's good. It's good to hear that Strava's doing well.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're just like any tech company. Like they're always struggling because like their whole business is kind of based on subs. Although I think they're trying to integrate marketing and advertising more and more. But I couldn't find any U.S. site reporting on their increase, so I take that with a grain of salt. But I was just going to say one of the other cool features I do like about it, since you asked, is so they're definitely making it more and more social, and sometimes that has a positive connotation, sometimes not. But in this sense, I think it's actually pretty positive. So it's just a lot more powerful. You can search for riders using Strava. Okay. And, I think they've really developed that a lot better than it used to. I think it didn't even exist, or if it did, it was pretty basic. But now, like, you just plug in people's names, you can search for areas, like as long as, you can change your settings and be more private, or you can just have it fully public. But for example, if you wanted to see who the fast guys are around, like, climbing Flagstaff, either on the day of the week, the month, whatever, and as long as they have all their stuff public, like you can see who like are the heavy hitters or just the people who ride that route a lot. And then they also have clubs. And so you can see clubs and teams, and then you can also see bike shops. Like I actually joined the bike shop, the Full Cycle shop that I talked about. I joined their Strava group. So I'm part of their like digital club, anyone
Danny,
can kind of join.
I'm so behind the time. I got a bike shop. You mean I could be on Strava with my own little bike shop?
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see this, but this is just like their page. So this is on the Strava app.
Okay.
And this is their bike shop, and you can see they have a picture of a bunch of cyclists, and this is one of their regular rides. and it's branded, and you can put in your info just like on Instagram, basically, and it has all the members. And then, you can just like slice and dice through all this data. It tells you everything, but
Okay.
it's pretty cool. And then like teams kind of like compete, like one shop can compete with another, like who did the most miles or whatever, and you can list all your events on like a calendar down here.
Wow.
So like, I want to do a ride with that shop because I'm in town, whether you're in like Uzbekistan or Boulder, and it's like, boom, you just show up. I don't know. It's just pretty powerful. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Obviously, you can get that info elsewhere, but if you're like really into cycling or running or whatever your freaking sport is, like they've done a lot for that, and that takes a lot of
I think
brain power.
I think that
there's
a lot of this stuff that has gotten much friendlier for the average person. I think a lot of this stuff originally was kind of bike racery. It was very watt centric and weight centric, and it was. I think that's what. Thinking back to when it all first came about, I think that's one of the reasons I didn't pay attention to it too much, because the people that I knew that were, comparing their Strava data or talking about Strava, they were all kind of pseudo bike racery people. It was just it was just a very competitive environment. Know, and from what I can see now, it's become a lot friendlier. Or just more as the average person, because and now that I say it out loud, like some of the people that I know that are using Strava these days are those same people that are bringing those trainers into the bicycle shop. They're smart trainers in now, where it's, they're just riders. They're just people that ride regularly, not racing, not competitive in any way, but they ride a lot. They ride 4 or 5 days a week, So
yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like what we talked about a minute ago too, about these indoor cycling programs, these apps. Like they've become more ubiquitous, and like more just like everyday people are using them, not these like hardcore roadies who are like which for business is fantastic, because that's really the bulk of your riders. I mean, that's the problem with the bike industry, is that we're always chasing these guys in Lycra, and that's a very small niche. It's just like this really small group of people that ride that way. Because the large amount of people that are, the bulk of the people really supporting the bicycle business is not that group of people. They're just average everyday riders, but are in the marketing world, in the cycling, in the bike business marketing world, it's always those, it's always that image that you see, the guy in Lycra, 140-pound guy climbing a mountain, and they don't look like the average guy walking into the bike shop. So that's good, and it's pretty cool. And I always have this smile on my face when I see someone, it has like suggested people to follow, just like other apps. But I'll see people who I'm like, oh, I didn't know, like they didn't strike me as like a Strava user. Yeah. But I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, they're riding on the lakefront, or they're going for like a century for like some charity ride, or it's kind of cool. So, but I will just make an important footnote, Joe. So that story about Strava hiking its monthly subscription rate by more than 25%, that appeared on Bike Radar, which is a UK site. And they do caveat in the story that it's unclear if the increase rates relates only to users in the UK, or if it's global. And they said they reached out to Strava and they haven't heard back. And I just checked my last payment for Strava, which was $59.99 for a yearly. And it says my next charge will be in October for the same amount. So as far as I could tell, it's not going up in the US, but of course that could change. Other news, Joe. So Joe, did you know there is, have you heard about this rail biking business? Has it gotten any traction in Chicago media? Lansing, Michigan, a report came out yesterday from WILX Channel 10 First Alert News. But it says a mid-Michigan woman took her love of railroads and cycling and turned it into a unique business. It's the first business in the state to offer rail biking, coming soon to Traverse City. I used to go skiing in Traverse City back in the day. I'm going to drop this link so you can get a picture of what I'm talking about, Joe. This is kind of fun. It's not really cycling, but I couldn't help notice it, and I had to at least bring it to your attention.
Okay, it's 2 p.m.
So it's like these
This could
little
help.
cars that are on railroad tracks, but you have to pedal.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you see these on lakes and stuff, right? These people pedaling around on these little pedal boats or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
This is like the train version, but it's happening not too far from Chicago. And I don't know, Joe, I'm always looking for ways for you to promote your business and your shop. And you might want to give this a look.
I think I found this story, and I wish I could play it for you so that you could hear it. But they do have something. They do have like some video posted online. Let me see if I can get this in here to play for you. Hold on a second.
Coffee is your go-to. Your mindset.
You can't hear it, right?
Covering your community.
I can't hear anything at the
woman
moment.
took her love of railroads and cycling, turned it into one unique business.
It's pretty cool. Now that business becomes the first in the state to offer rail biking. It's coming soon to beautiful Traverse City. Take a look. 2019 Grand Ledge High School grad Macy Heffron.
I'm going to explain to you right now. It's the news. It's News 10 that's doing a story there. Do you have that?
Okay.
Do you have the story in front of you? Maybe you can play the video.
Yeah.
So if you go to the WLILX website, they do. Let me see if I can send you the link here. Hold on.
I'm pulling it up here, and I see these folks on this. Yeah.
So if you can maybe mute it there on your side, and I'll play it.
Yep.
And let's see if we can get this. See if we can kind of sync it. Okay. So I'm like at 18 seconds right now. So stop yours at 18 seconds. So we'll be like kind of synced up.
Okay. I stopped them at 18.
Okay. So that you can kind of see. You can see them on the railroad tracks, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to play it now. I'm going to play this now. And you can watch
you
can watch the video, and I'll just
3,
owns Wheels
2,
on Rail.
1.
Yep, go ahead, play, and I'll play.
Okay.
The bikes run on railroad tracks that are no longer used. This video comes from a company called Tracks and Max in Maryland. Macy worked with them for her project and will be renting her first bikes from them.
Are they even
Former
pedaling?
MDOT employee Macy
Some of them are.
had to work with
they
the
are.
state and the railroad to get
There's
them
one person pedaling.
She says most people
but
will
they're
be
not
able to
pedaling at
enjoy
all.
these rail bikes.
It must be downhill or something. They're some of them are pedaling.
You're probably right.
Some are not pedaling.
Bikes.
Hold on.
These bikes essentially just slide down the tracks. So little to no effort, which is so cool.
Wheels
and I think the biggest thing that makes me so excited is that anyone and everyone can.
I don't know.
The
This
thing that
just
makes
looks
me
like
so
a road
excited
trip
is that anyone and everyone can do it, from elderly to. That makes me so excited.
Hold on.
These bikes essentially just slide down the tracks. So little to no.
Macy Heffron. This is Macy Heffron, owner of Wheels on Rails LLC.
I'm waiting for a bear to come out and just like devour one of these people.
All right, I'm going to play it again.
Well, they're having fun.
So
they're having
cool.
fun.
And I think the biggest thing that makes me so excited
I feel like
is
that was
that
a
anyone
nothing
and
burger.
everyone can do it, from elderly
I thought it was gonna be
to
cooler.
toddlers to people with disabilities, people that are elderly and can't really move. I'm just super excited because a lot of activities don't allow that for people. So this is really special, and people will be able to come with their families and be outside and enjoy nature.
Macy's website, Wheels on Rails.
Did they say anything more?
Is up and running. She is taking reservations for the Traverse City launch on Memorial Day weekend. They are about 20% booked right now, but Macy said spots are filling up.
Ooh, that could be things.
Sign me up.
Does it say how long it is?
I don't think it said. She talked about how it was great for old people and for the elderly and people that had disabilities and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
they're booking for the 23 season.
Yeah, well, Memorial Day, big kickoff there. Just look out. Look out for the trains, though.
Oh yeah, well, they have the tandem ride. 1 hour is $89. I think that's kind of crazy.
That's a lot of.
That's a lot of dough.
That is a lot of dough.
It doesn't say anything about. I'm just looking for the details. Like, how long is this FAQ? Let's see here. Do I need a reservation? Can children participate? Blah, blah, blah. What if it rains? What should I bring?
Mm-hmm.
Do I book ahead or just show up? How long is each tour? Okay, here we go. Our tours are 1 hour long. We ride 30 minutes down the line. Then the guides will turn the bikes around for each group. The tour will continue biking back to where we started. Is there a weight limit? There is a weight limit of 300 pounds per seat.
Oh.
There you go. I should just make it.
Yeah. Wow, 300 pounds, 300 pounds per seat. Sure.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, it gives you a little bit of...
There's quads too, so that could be 1,200 pounds of people, sausage coming down the track.
Humanity.
I have my reservations about that. $90 to pedal
for an hour. It's an hour.
A half hour and turn around. I don't know. That it doesn't seem like that much fun.
Doesn't seem real exciting. We saw. Well, I mean, those people were raising their hands. They seem really psyched. But
you can tell they're like, the camera guy's like, raise them now.
Yeah, I mean, you're stuck on these railroad tracks. I mean, I can't. I mean, unless it's like extremely scenic or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I wonder. So in other serious news, Joe, I'm gonna have to get a little bit serious here with you. So I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is pretty heavy, man. So I sent you the link there. Skims, which is, as you know, owned by Kim K, right?
Okay.
So she has a metallic swim cycle suit. It's $128, Joe.
Okay. Affordable. You know what? It's very affordable when you think about what bibs and stuff cost these days. $128.
Ironically.
Yeah.
But if you scroll down that page, Joe, there's some Skims on social, and there is a picture of a model in that suit riding her bike. So it's kind of cool. Like, I don't know, maybe we should get these for Sarah and for Rita.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm sure they would be very excited if we showed up with 2 packages of Skims of they would look like they just got off a spaceship with these things. There's like silvery. They're right. They're silvery. They're metallic-y silver. I mean, I don't know.
So, Joe, you got to click on. So you saw the social post on the bottom?
Yeah.
So click on the one on the far right. There's 3. Click on the one on the right and play the little video. You can hear her talking.
This is Kim Kardashian?
I don't think it's her. I think it's someone else. I don't really keep up with the Kardashians. No pun intended.
But she's talking.
So the Skim Swim Metallics is definitely what I'm going to wear. Fits so good and cute. And I'm not wearing anything underneath it, like any shapewear.
She's not wearing
anything. It just holds really well.
She says she's not wearing anything underneath it. I've been riding bikes for a long time, Denny. For a really long. I've never have I met anyone that looks like her in a bike shop. Like that.
Joe. So this is the future, and are you gonna? You know what? You might one day carry this. What do you think?
Just that. Those would be the only things that I carry in the bike. Do you carry any clothing? Yes, these. They're only the Skims.
So that's what we call the silly season. I will end on an actual news item. It's not really a news item. It came out 6 days ago, but you were talking there earlier about riding on Swift and doing like some of these rides or races. And there's a guy here in Boulder, and his name is Ben Delaney. I don't know if you know the name, but it's kind of funny the way it worked out. So he's a local guy. He's been here a long time. I think he's originally from New Mexico, but he's been in Boulder a long time. And he used to work at VeloNews. He was the editor-in-chief, I believe, of VeloNews. And I've met him at the tour. I know him from like cycling media, what have you. But he was part of those layoffs that happened at Outside. That we talked to Dan about.
Yeah.
So he's started his own YouTube channel. He's really good at it, actually. So his name is Ben Delaney, and the name of his YouTube channel is The Ride with Ben Delaney.
Yeah, I think he did something actually down in Bentonville. I think he was down doing some.
He did.
Down
so
there. Yeah.
He did. So when I searched for that, his video came up. So he did a nice long, like 20-minute thing on Bentonville. And he also just had another one that I thought was interesting because you were talking about Strava. So he actually just has a pretty cool video on why team racing is the best racing on Swift. He's like a pretty hardcore guy in terms of his riding. He does a lot of gravel races. He's won gravel races, and I think he's into his 40s, but he's still out there crushing it. I'd be kind of afraid to ride with him at the moment, but he's a really cool guy, and I know him from way back in the day. And he's been through like all the cycling media sites, and just one of those dudes. But I watched a handful of his videos, and if folks are just looking for like a really good YouTube channel, like cycling focus, especially gravel, seems to be his big thing, but also some road. And he does some like gear and bike reviews and stuff. But he's like a really good guy, and he's, I think, really well known in the kind of cycling community and the industry. So just kind of like a shout out to Mr. Ben Delaney. If folks are looking for something kind of new and they like watching YouTube stuff, and he does like really good kind of thorough dives into like, different types of bikes and gear, but also gives you like inside race footage, race commentary on some of these big rides and things like that. So kind of cool. And just to finish up, Joe, kind of related, VeloNews, I think, had the scoop or the news about changes being made to, speaking of gravel, some of the changes being made to gravel, because, that scene is obviously blowing up and has been for quite some time.
Yep.
So it turns out that they're banning aero bars. That was the most notable one that I noticed. And if you've seen like some of the commentary on gravel racing over the past few years, I think it's fair to say there's been some like brouhaha about like, they don't, there's kind of like a vibe and a scene with gravel, and there has been some pushback from the folks who've been entrenched in gravel for quite some time. And, I think there was some bitterness perhaps when some of these roadies were coming into the sport, like, hey, let's try gravel. And so we'll bring in maybe some world tour riders, and we'll bring in some like of our equipment and kind of roadify gravel almost if that's fair to say. But nonetheless, there has been some controversy over time, like in terms of what people are using and what they're doing. But it looks basically like they're the folks who, run these gravel races and whatnot. Like, it looks like they're just making it, kind of more of like a real sport. I don't mean that to hate on it in any way, like it wasn't before, but to kind of really bring in some standards and some rules. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But the gravel aero bar thing has always been really interesting to me. Like seeing these people, doing these like crazy gravel rides and races, and they're tucked into these aero bars. It always just seemed like very jarring.
Yeah, because it was mass start event with aero bars. It never seemed like a real good idea. But that's good. I mean, that's good to see. It's just evolving a little bit. It's I think it was a bit of a. I think when gravel first started, those original ones, the way that I remembered, they were just kind of free for alls. They were actually pretty small events. Some of them, you'd have like 35 guys set up, started some farm somewhere in the middle of Iowa. They were pretty. I actually know a couple of guys that did those early gravel rides out there, and it really was. It was self-supported, middle of the night, really cold, really, kind of, every man for himself type events, when they really came on the scene originally, and it's just the evolution of it now,
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how this is evolving, and it's just, I don't know, it's odd. Like for me personally, like, I haven't done any gravel racing, that's for sure, and really any gravel riding. I guess this weekend will be one of my first forays into the gravel scene a little bit. But yeah, it's it's been around for a long time, a couple of decades at least, and it's just now becoming really like organized, I guess is the word. But they do talk about how these changes coming in. I guess the sense from a lot of the pros that VeloNews talked to are pretty positive. But yeah, they talk about how for the first time in the race's nearly 2-decade history, they're talking about Unbound Gravel, which I think is like the biggest event in North America. Riders in the elite categories of the 200-mile race will start in a wave ahead of all other participants. That's kind of new. They usually mix in with everybody, which was always kind of weird to me. But now the elite riders will be started kind of early. And then they also be forbidden from using aero bars, although non-elite riders can still use them. So something to check out if someone's interested in that sort of thing. I'm just like always curious. Like it's just this thing I haven't really jumped into, this gravel scene, but maybe eventually I'll go check out some of the gravel races, and maybe I'll do like how they sometimes have a race and then they have like the ride version for like folks who want to go more chill. So maybe if I can get my fitness where I want it to be, I can check one of those out someday. Like just do like the shorter kind of more chill version. I think that would be kind of fun. So
I think you'd be fine on a lot of them. I know a lot of people that do them, and they're for some of them their fitness level. It's not like you need to be a Cat 3 or something to do some of these events. Some of them, a lot of them are essentially like fun rides. It's like a personal best type thing. Go out there and have some fun. Yeah. They're popping up all over the place. You're certainly going to have an opportunity. So,
yeah. And then the very, very last thing was actually kind of a serious point. It just kind of came up as I was looking at some of these other stories about it. Did you hear about Contador? He had 100 benign tumors removed. 100, Joe.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's pretty wild. Did you hear about that story? Like I didn't know about it.
Yeah, like a bunch of little fat cells and stuff. They were removed off of him. I saw a picture somewhere on social media of him. Sitting down in a chair, with his legs up or something, and talking about how he's going to be off the bike for a little bit.
Yeah, these like fatty tumors, usually non-cancerous, that develop between the skin and the muscle. So, it's just kind of interesting. I assume that came from like all his cycling over decades. I wonder if that's going to be something that others are going to be talking about. I was kind of alarmed when I saw the headline at first, but then I realized, he's in good shape and these are all benign, but probably just maybe a precautionary kind of thing. But there we are, Joe, in the off season, talking about skims, talking about Michigan, jumping into the bike rail scene, and possibly Cavendish going to Astana. Can you believe the news these days, Joe?
There's all sorts of ways you can do it. All sorts of ways you can. It's a wacky business.
I feel like I might get fired after that news roundup.
No, I'm going to keep you around. That's the kind of news I like. Just a little bit of everything there, Danny. We think we got everybody covered. I think the most interesting part to come out of it is that you actually said that you're going to get some of those skims for Sarah, and I'm supposed to get one of those for Rita. Because that
so you're going to be thinking about that all week now.
Yeah, that's kind of a disturbing. It's like I don't know how we float that, Danny. Like I think we're going to get into.
Look, Sarah's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, there. Well, Amazon. Get on Amazon right now.
Out to Skims.
See if they can.
I should go to Skims. Maybe they have one in Denver or something. I could jump in. It's a pretty. Folks should check it out. Just it's very silvery, metallic, and mirroring, glistening looking. It's very shiny.
To all our man listeners out there, go out and buy one for your loved one. See what she thinks.
Or our woman listeners, whatever they're into. But I love the video though. It was just like, I'm just gonna go for a bike ride.
Go for a bike ride.
I know we're well into the podcast, but how's everything at the shop, and like what's going on with you, man?
I'm gonna close the newsroom. Hold on. Oh, there you go.
Close the newsroom.
Yeah, newsroom is closed. Things are good. They're good. Just starting the year strong. Meeting with my vendors. Today is like calling the bike companies that I deal with and making sure I don't owe them any money, and if I do, making sure I get them, get them paid. I mean, it really is, one of those. The last few years, normally, like your credit people, you have a pretty good relationship with your with the people at the credit departments of all your bike companies because you're dealing with in some cases, pretty decent sums of money for me, and tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of bikes, but you're dealing with some big chunks of money there, and credit,
sure.
and credit lines, and over the last 2 years, you haven't really had to worry about too much of that because you weren't getting a lot of product anyway. So it was so random. You were getting things, and you weren't really placing these huge orders and stuff. So I haven't had to have a lot of communication with them recently. But I think, as I mentioned, we've started to see things come through, and some of this stuff has been on order for like 2 years, and it's just kind of random. At first it was random. You'd get one bike here, one bike there. It didn't really mean a lot. But now, we started seeing some bikes show up on like a pallet load of bikes here and there. And you're just like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is probably starting to add up. I better figure out what's going on.
Plug the hole.
Yeah. What's going on? How many more bikes do I have coming? What is really, what can I expect? And do some actual planning. And again, like stuff that we just haven't done we haven't had to do really in the last few years. Or if we did, it was all just kind of phony baloney because those bikes were never going to show up, So it was, setting up meetings with my reps and talking to the credit departments and saying hi and seeing who's left at the bike companies, it's pretty, it's pretty interesting talking to them because you get, they are, especially the credit people, they have a real feel for what's happening out in the industry because they're hearing and talking to the bike shop owners, and some guys are crying because they don't have money, and then there's other people that are like kind of chipper. And I was surprised to, there was like like the gallows humor, like some of these credit people are just like, hey, like what are we gonna do, But for the most part, kind of up. I like the attitude that they were talking to, I guess when I talked to them, they were all kind of, they know that I don't have a ton of stuff on order. I didn't overdo it. I'm pretty good. I don't owe them a ton of money. I'm not calling them to cry about the fact that I don't have money or, there's no cash flow or anything. So they're pretty, they're nice. They're pretty light conversations. But I can tell from the things that they say and just kind of their overall demeanor that they were grateful that I was just kind of calling to say hi and talk to them because they're dealing with a lot of people who are like in dire straits, and they know for a fact that
who are not talking to them.
They're yelling at them, and so, it was just kind of, there were interesting conversations, and it was pretty apparent with all the credit departments that I spoke to that's kind of like the case where there's a lot of people that are going to be fine. Like in the, there's plenty of bike shops. I think right now I'm starting to see a lot of videos coming up on YouTube, people talking about, the dire straits that the bike industry is in. And it is for a portion of the bike industry. There's definitely, there are bike companies in a little bit of trouble. There are bike shops in trouble. But I think that there's a lot of people that have kind of managed their way through all of this mess. That have been able to kind of who didn't buy more than what they needed and kind of stayed disciplined during this time. And I think that overall there's going to be a lot of people okay, and the ones that need to go away are going to probably, go by the wayside. I think there's going to be, there's definitely going to be some contraction. There's going to be companies that everybody knows that are probably going to go away or aren't going to exist or are going to get swallowed up by other bike companies. But I think that, part of that is also just kind of necessary stuff in the bike industry. I think that there are probably too many brands out there right now and just a lot of redundant stuff out there anyway. So, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I think we'll, at the end of the day, come out a stronger business as a whole, with more direction. But it's going to be it'll probably be a little choppy there for some people. So, Yeah.
Are you feeling positive about the new year in terms like of the business?
Yeah, I'm so far. I'm excited about the prospects. I'm the one part that's got me a little bit nervous is just I just don't have those sought after mechanics. I don't really the conversations have been positive so far. And I've got a lot of interest and a lot of I think that's a great idea, but I don't. Until I see them in the shop wearing an apron and working on bicycles, I'm not going to be, I won't count my chickens. So, by the end of the month, I certainly like to have something locked up. And if not, then I'll turn to plan B and just, start casting a wider net. But, I'm prepared to wait it out for the next month and, what I'm asking for is a lot, like what I'm asking for from the mechanics for the people that I want working for me is, I want to, for some of them, I'm asking them to change their lives, like to kind of change their whole routine and kind of come back to something that they love to do, that they acknowledge that they love to do, but they left it at some point because they were really burned out and unhappy with the business. For me, my approach is like, hey, I didn't like the way things were either. Let's build something new and different, and let's do it a different way. This is
it's a commitment. Yeah,
it's a commitment. I mean, you have to have faith and you have to trust it. These are people that 20 years ago I sat around a bike shop and said, "Oh, this could be better." We can if we had a bike shop, right? And now what I'm saying basically to them is like, we have a bike shop, we can do whatever we want. Let's try it that way. Let's do it. And so I think, that offer really the idea appeals to them a lot, but you're also asking people to to go out there and try something really, try something new, and try something different. And so I get it. And so I don't want to be too pushy, because I've been thinking about it for a long time, it's certainly been, but for them, it's something that, they just heard about it in the last couple of months. So, I get that it takes a little time to adjust and, kind of warm up to the idea.
Well, so when is well, obviously we're just into the new year, just a weekend. When do you feel like when's the first like legit week or first legit month when like business really starts to pick up, like when you start to really feel the new year, the new season starting?
It's really weather dependent here.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like, I mean, the season can start in February if we have like a streak of 50, 60 degree days. If you have a week of good weather in February, the season will start. Like, it just
crazy.
If you have like, let's say you have one of those stretches of like, 50, 60 degree weather for like 10 days. That will kick off the season. Like, it will kick off and then it just won't stop. It'll just keep building until May or June, and then you get into summer mode. If you don't have that good weather early, if you don't have good weather before May or June, especially June, there's a big segment of the population just diverts their attention to other sports. Whether it be tennis or running or hiking, or there's some other outdoor activity that they've been able to do that bikes get pushed. But because getting their bikes fixed, taking their bike to the bike shop, getting a tune-up, it's a little bit of a drag for a lot of people, trying to get that thing in the car, drag it to the bike shop, pick it up. I mean, it's, and dig it out of the garage.
I'm just laughing because I have a friend, and I love you, Tim. You're the best. He had a flat tire for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I literally was like, Tim, it's a beautiful Saturday. I want to ride bikes with you. Just go to the lakefront for 5 easy miles. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to buy the tire. I'm going to buy the inner tube. I'm going to fix the bike. And he still was like,
That and
it just became this long running joke. I'm like, dude, he's like, I'd ride, but I got a flat tire. And I'm like, I'm literally going to come and be your miracle man, and he was still like, I'm gonna go to the record store.
Well, and that's a lot of the people that we deal with, right? And so, like, when you have good weather in late February and March, it's really exciting to people. Like, oh my God, I got to get out. I got to get out. You know, like, and I'm not talking about cyclists. I'm not talking about people that ride their bike no matter what. Yep. I'm talking about these people that, these are the people that help us make money at a bicycle shop, right? Yeah. And, you know, they put us over the top, especially, you know, who makes and breaks our season. And so, you know, they're more motivated to do that when it's like, you know, when you have a 70-degree day in late February or early March. You know how it feels here in Chicago. Like, people go nuts. It's like, oh my God, I got to go get my, you know.
People just become obsessed. They get out of their minds. Yeah. They're just like running out of their house, like sprinting. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, it looks insane. It's insane. The city's insane when you have that kind of weather.
People just calling this sick to work and cancel plans, and they're just like, let's go to the beach.
We have people go berserk, and and the same thing happens at the bike shop. Is that, you know, you just have, I don't know, there's just an excitement. But if that weather doesn't come until, you know, you don't have that good stretch of weather until May or June, it's different. You know, you don't have that excitement. You have people that are just kind of like, finally, it's here. You know, it's like, oh, let's go out. And, the summer's almost over anyway. I'm not going to bother getting my bike fixed. Right? It's like
the classic winter to summer in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, just skip spring and maybe even half a summer.
And what I noticed too is that just a lot of suburban families and stuff, like, once the kids are out of school, like, that's it. Like, they are locked into summer activities, and it's just like a whole different, you know, it's a different mindset.
It's like you got to catch that wave, and if you miss it,
you've missed it. You've missed it. Yeah. Like, not only that, like, you've really, you know, you just you just miss out on that group of people. They just don't show up to the bike shop. They don't show up. And so, you know, if we're talking 15-20% of just, you know, a difference of 15 to 20% at a bike shop, that's a huge difference. You know, it's
that's literally just being above water, or actually doing well, or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's the difference between having like 6 really good months or 3 or 4 really good months. You know, So weather's, you know, the weather here in the Midwest is a really, really big deal for us, because it can, you know, it can really stretch things out. And lately we've had really good falls. Like, we've been able to go into, you know, October and still be doing pretty decent business. And when I say, you know, the business, I'm talking about like repair business and, you know, those flat fixes, bike rentals.
A lot of service.
Yeah. That, all that little stuff that kind of goes out the window if the weather's bad. You know, it's just like those average, you know, guys like you are fixing your own flat tires, but, you know, that casual rider is coming in and getting flat fixed, and that kind of, you know, you do 10 of those, 15 of those on a weekend. It makes a difference at the end of the month. So
yeah, it all adds up, right?
Yeah, all that little stuff really adds up, you know, because that's really where a lot of the profit for the bicycle shops are at.
Speaking of, Joe, not to put you on the spot, but you saw that menu of prices I sent you by text from the Boulder Bike Shop. That was from the Full Cycle Shop.
Oh, is that Full Cycle?
Did anything stand out on there as like interesting or eye-opening in terms of their services or what they were charging for them?
So they do their tune-ups in kind of a beer, like you would see beers, you know, pint, the growler, 6-tel, and then the keg, right? So they do the pint, which I'm guessing is their regular tune-up. You know, their kind of basic tune-up is $129, which is a little rich.
Not cheap.
$129. Although, you know, for some, it's I've seen plenty of bike shops charging in that price range for a tune-up, and it really depends. You know, it doesn't detail what's involved in their tune-up, and from where they're at, I'm guessing that I don't know, $129. They've got a growler tune-up at $279. Then the overhaul is $449, and then the keg is $499 and $549.
Big money.
It is big money. I know the pricing. So there's a pricing strategy here, and the pricing strategy is kind of like, it's similar to like what restaurants do in a lot of different places. They give you a low, a middle, and a high, right? A real high. Nobody gets the $549 overhaul, right? And the pint, well, at $129, a lot of people usually go for somewhere in the middle, right? They're like, 129 is a lot.
When you look at those high ones, the pint doesn't look too bad, right?
Yeah, the pint one doesn't look bad. You're just like, 129. Oh, geez.
Like, it's only 129.
Yeah, it's only 129. I guess I'll do the 120.
Give me 2 of those.
Yeah. And so that's what, I think that's what they're going for there with some of those $400 and $500 packages. My prices probably won't go. I might just throw one out there for $500 and something. I know that there are places that I know that there are bike shops that do that.
The world tour overhaul.
I've talked to those other bike shop owners, the guys that a lot of the shops that have something like that on their menu, and it's usually like new tires, new tape, new cables, new house, new everything, new brake pads. It's the overhaul and the works, right? And they don't really expect to sell any of those tune-ups. I mean, if they do, great. But really, it's just to position their other services as reasonable. So like you said, that $129 next to the $549 doesn't seem that bad. So yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Let's see what else that they have on there. Basic fork suspension. I mean, the basic fork service is $100. Advanced fork $150. Basic shock $55. Advanced shock $150. That's pretty in line. I mean, I think that those prices are pretty standard for shock services. Their shop rate is $120 an hour. Yeah. So I mean, if their shop rate is $120 and their tune-up is $129, that's their tune-up. So I'm guessing that that's probably their tune-up. Bike wash, $35. That's pretty good. $35. I mean, that's makes me think I should be charging for washing people's bikes. I've been very generous in that I've been washing them just so that I didn't have to work on their bike.
Yeah, it actually looked like a decent deal to me.
Flat fix $12. That's a good price for flat fix. Actually, I think maybe even, I'm guessing it's flat. That's just the labor plus the tube.
Yeah.
Tubeless setup $20. That seems kind of cheap. I'm sure that it's $20 labor plus the tape and the valves and all the rest. Derailleur adjustment $18. Brake adjustment $18. About going rate, $18-$20. True wheel $27 to $50. Yeah, $27 to $50. That's about right. $50, I'm guessing, for like a broken spoke or something like that. Brake bleed $50 each. That's
Is that a lot?
Probably on the higher end, although, if I could get away with charging $50 for a brake bleed on a SRAM brake, I would do it, I mean, because they're, they take time, it really is kind of time. If I charge for my time, that's at $120 an hour shop rate, which is a little high, a little above the average for sure. Yeah, that's about right. Box bike to ship, $130.
That's a lot.
That's a
just
lot.
a box, because that's not shipping, right?
No, that's not shipping. That's just to box it.
I would do it for $130.
Yeah, for $130. I mean, I charge probably close to half of that.
Yeah,
I should probably charge more because the problem with boxing bikes, to do it right takes a little bit of time for sure.
Right. Right.
But it's also the liability that you kind of assume when you're boxing it, and most of the time they get to their destination okay, but it's the one time that it doesn't. It's just such a pain in the butt. You have an angry customer. You have a shipping company that's trying to get out of it, and then it's you somewhere in that mix, right, where it could be your fault or if you did things right, it shouldn't be your fault, but things still got crushed, and nobody's ever happy in that situation. And for the little bit of money you make, it's sometimes not worth it. So I think that they're charging $130 so they don't have to do it. And if they get somebody who's willing to pay $130, they're like, crap, I got to box a bike. But for
hopefully they're well insured.
Yeah, for $130, I guess I'll do it, So, so sometimes shops will do it like that. It's like, I hate to do that. I hate to do that job. I'm going to charge so much for it that it'll discourage people from doing it. And if I do have to do it, I'm going to get well compensated for it,
Yeah.
So I get it. New bike build, $175. A little high depending on the kind of bike that you're building, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, if you're going to build somebody else's bike, if they're bringing in a bike, it better be, for them, this is probably a kind of shop where they're just like, it better, I'm going to make it worth it. You're going to bring me a bike, I'm going to build it for you. It's going to be worth our while. Warranty, crash replacement, processing fee, $50.
I don't even know what is that. I don't understand what that fee is for. What is that?
I'm guessing that, like things will. I'm dealing with something right now from Cannondale. It's an old fork recall that they had on this is a bike from the 90s, probably almost a 25, 30-year-old bike, Cannondale bike. So it had what they call a pepperoni fork. It was just a style of fork that they had, and Cannondale decided that they were going to warranty it, which means that I take it in. I have, for this bike, for example, I have to order adapters, install a headset, and they're going to give me a credit at the bike company, a little bit of a credit, but it's not really going to compensate all the time and effort that I've put into chasing all of this stuff down, right?
Gotcha.
I have phone calls in, I have emails in, I've had some back and forth with the bike company.
A lot of admin.
Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not making anything.
Sounds like more of a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah. So I think that that's kind of their thing where it's like, we'll process it for you, but it's $50. Or you can go to the other Cannondale dealer down the street, or you can go to the other Trek dealer down the street.
We kind of don't want to do this.
We kind of don't. Insist, if you insist, it's $50. So I get it. I mean, I there's plenty of shops that do it like that, and honestly, like the more I talk to bike shops, the really well the well-run bike shops, some of these guys that are running, little empires in the bike business, they all do this stuff, which, makes me question whether I should be doing something like that. Maybe not exactly like that, but things that I used to give away at the bike shop, services that I used to give away. Our business is now a service based, and we're in the service industry. I mean, we sell bikes and stuff, but now it's service. I mean, it really is that's the stuff that we make our money on. So in the past, it's like we used to make our money selling a bike rack or a trainer or, a bunch of bikes. And now we don't sell as many bikes as we used to. We don't sell those trainers like we used to, because all that stuff has gone online. So what do we have left to keep us alive and keep us running and paying the bills? It's all that stuff that was kind of like an add-on, at least for us.
Yeah.
Now I have to I can't tell you how many people have offered me money every time I put air in their tires or show them how to use a Presta-Valve adapter, or you know what I mean? Like all those little things that I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Come back and buy something, or be a good. There's a lot of things that people offer.
You don't want to nickel and dime them.
Yeah, I throw a rack on somebody. Throw a car carrier on their car or something,
or
like that.
A light or something,
or a light. Install something. That I've worked at shops where it's like, oh, it's $5 for this, it's $5 for that, it's $7 for that, and where I've been pretty lenient on some of that stuff, where I'm like, oh, you're buying it from us, I'll install it. I'll throw it on. And
especially if it takes you like 90 seconds.
Especially if it's a quick install. Although, that goes back to the fact that I have a lot of experience. I have the tools. I have a bike shop here. That's why I can do it so efficiently and so quickly.
Right.
And you wouldn't be able to do this at home. So why am I not charging $5 for that service? You're willing to pay me for it. Like you just asked me.
It's like you gotta, yeah.
So it's just
sorry, a little delay. I think I was just gonna say, like, you seem like you have a really good sense of like when to charge and when not, because like you said, like you're just building up rapport and like loyalty and like, hey, Joe put this on, he didn't charge me, that's cool. Like, but maybe next time they want to tune up or ship their bike, they're like, I'm gonna go to Joe, like, you know, and then you can charge them for that. So maybe it's kind of like I don't know, pre-sale type thing almost.
Yeah, it was a long game. I mean, for me, a lot of it has been the long game, and it's worked really well for me. I mean, and you know, I learned that from Mark, you know, and seeing a lot of how he conducted himself around the bike shop. You know, like here, you know, it's giving someone a press valve adapter or handing someone a tube and say, you know, because they don't have cash, and saying, come back and, you know, pay me for it, you know, when you're next time you're in the area. And, you know, you get that back sometimes twice and 3 times over, you know, like those people come back and they're super excited, and, you know, they'll bring you a case of beer or something, you know, whatever it is. They're so happy that you saved them, you know. And for you, what was it really? You know, it's an inner tube that, you know, at the end of the day didn't cost you a whole bunch. And in exchange, you've made this guy, you know, you've created this evangelist for your bike shop. You know, this guy is just going out there and just telling everybody how awesome you are. So, I look at it as like marketing, you know, those like marketing dollars, you know, it's like, I'm creating goodwill, but there's some of that stuff that now is like, okay, you know, maybe now is the time that, you know, there's certain things that can't be given away anymore. There's certain things where we have to tighten up a little bit. And that's going back to that theme of like being a better run business, you know, where it's it's the part where all bike shops, I think, now have had to analyze themselves a little bit and kind of figure out where and, you know, how they can make things a little bit more profitable at the bike shops, because they all have to be a little bit more profitable now with everything, with all the inflation and everything else that's gone up and, you know, gone on in the bike business. So,
yeah. Well, I sent that to you because I was in the shop and I was like, it's entered my mind. I was like, oh yeah, we talked about this on the last pod. You know, whether shops are transparent, if they have a menu. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, this might be a good one for Joe to get his eyes on. And we talked also separately of that other shop, University Bikes, how they don't have any prices on their website, and they may have stuff in store. I just haven't noticed when I was in there the 1 or 2 times. But yeah, it's always interesting to see, especially what they're charging. So
yeah, I think this.
So there you go, a little sample price from Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little dive, I think, this weekend on just do a little online research on some dealers' websites and just see what's going on there, because it is one of those things that we'll be talking about at the bike shop this week with the staff and stuff, just starting to run them through checking in bikes and, you know, doing a little bit of teaching. And
nice, man, the season's starting.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time for sure.
Getting ready.
Yeah, get your Spanx ready, or your whatever those are. Skims.
Well, to wear the Skims, you might need the Spanx.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Although that model apparently doesn't wear anything underneath. No, but for some of us, we'll need the Spanx before we put on the Skims.
You'll look good in a
So it's like, you never know, Joe.
I get us a deal on 2 of them, probably. You know, maybe we can request them to review for the show.
Are you tight with Kim K?
Yeah, I am.
All right,
Danny.
Super fun.
Yeah,
it was great catching up with you from
as always.
Colorado and you in Chicago.
Au revoir.